Welcome back to Florida at the voice of college football. And we woke up to some really good news. Five-star wide receiver Dallas Wilson, who was predicted to flip to Florida on signing day, ended up sticking with Oregon. Well, now it looks like he's flipping. Seems like we're just waiting for Oregon to sign the papers to release him from his financial aid agreement, and he'll be a Gator. I mean, Florida got a lot of flack. Our Gator fans gave the staff a lot of flack for him not flipping. Everyone's calling it a big troll job. Seems like something just happened, and now Wilson's going to end up flipping. I mean, this is a huge get for the Gators. I'm pretty sure it's going to be part of the recruiting class and not the transfer class, which pushes this class up to 10th in the rankings. And if we do finish on someone like Onis Conenberry, who is a 4-star corner, the class, I believe, will get up to 8th. It's really close right there. I mean, Tyler, what do you think of this commitment?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, not a video that I think either of us thought we'd be making
No.
today. We both kind of caught wind of this being a possibility late last night, and within a couple hours, it went from slim, maybe this is a possibility to wow, this is happening. And then obviously becomes official this morning. I mean, I think it's massive. I think a lot of the vibes around early signing day being disappointing were because Florida didn't get Dallas Wilson, because it wasn't just there was some smoke there. There was Wiltfong projection, Tom Loy projection, both the main prognosticators for 247 and On3 had Dallas Wilson signing with Florida. I think Florida's staff fully expected to land Dallas Wilson on signing day. So getting him now, I mean, to me, it changes. I don't know about you, but to me, it changes my perspective on the wide receiver room going into 2025. I think this is a guy who can make an immediate impact in a way that maybe I'm not sure a Vernell Brown or a Nashawn Montgomery could.
No. Yeah, Dallas Wilson. So he may not be developed as a receiver fully, with his route running, but what he does have, he has great size. He has great speed. He already has that physicality physicality is usually what the problem is for these young players coming into the SEC. Well, Dallas Wilson can come onto our roster and be the best blocking wide receiver we have. So even if he's not fully developed as a route runner, he still has that 6'4" frame. He still has that really good speed for his size to where he can still be a big deep threat. And in a heavy run offense, he can be a really good blocker out there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think blocking, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's such a necessity in Billy's offense with the way that we run the ball and the way that his offense is built around the way he designs the run game. I think it's the same issue you saw with an Arliss Boardingham struggling to get on the field at times. A guy who is a threat at the receiver position, but maybe not where he needs to be as a blocker to be playing a significant amount of reps for this team. So I think, that is something that if you want to see Dallas Wilson get on the field early, if he's ready to do that, that's a big factor in his favor.
Yep. Yeah, you saw a bunch of Gator fans starting to kind of panic about the transfer portal because they've seen guys like Dane Key, who's projected to flip to Georgia now, Nick Anderson go to LSU, Solon Virgil go to Texas Tech and Iowa State, respectively. But it seems like the staff had a plan. They knew that they didn't have to rush to get maybe good targets to okay targets. They can still get a guy like Dallas Wilson who has the size that people want us to go get for DJ Lagway. And I mean, we're projected now to flip Jamichael Sturdivant, who's 6'3" or 6'2", who has some good production, kind of fallen off a bit at UCLA and Cal, but someone that we've seen Billy hit on his receivers. Ricky Pearsall, Elijah Badger, Chimere DK. So we know Billy can go out there and maybe get a guy who less developed and make him a finished product. You saw Billy at Bama. He was a wide receiver coach under Nick Saban when they got Jerry Jeudy. That was also when they had Henry Ruggs and Jalen Waddle. He helped recruit and develop those guys a little bit at Bama and Arizona State with N'Keal Harry. So, I mean, Billy just knows what he's doing with the receiver position.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to bring up Sturdivant next. I think that, we went from what are we doing at the receiver position when Chase Souls committed elsewhere and Reginald Virgil committed elsewhere. And like you said, not in for guys like Dane Key, Barian Brown, Nick Anderson. But, I think that getting a guy like Sturdivant, like you said, the size, I think you're doing a really good job, especially with what you lose. Because I think guys a guy like DK, I think his size was such a big part of why he had success, even though I don't think Sturdivant's the same kind of receiver as DK is. But you mentioned, the diminishing production, that is true. Hasn't really lived up to the redshirt freshman season he had at Cal in 2021, but also battled injuries this year.
Yep.
Kind of limited in his action, and he still had some really nice games. Had couple 100-yard games. I think I went over 100 in a loss to USC late in the season. Right. So a guy, I think all of a sudden, like I said, I think the outlook in 24 hours at the receiver position has drastically changed.
Yeah, man, it really has. And we have Jonte Cook, former 5-star receiver from Texas, taking a visit this weekend. I've also heard there's still some players who haven't entered the portal if they are looking at. So if we're looking to take 3 portal or 2 portal receivers now that we have Dallas Wilson, because 2 or 3 was the number we were looking at before Wilson committed. So if it's still, so now it might just be 1 or 2. Yeah. I'm going to hope it's 2 because Sturdivant's not necessarily a proven fully commodity that's going to be a guaranteed starter. When you have like DJ Lagway, you want those guys. I mean, neither is Dallas Wilson, like a true freshman. Another big announcement that the Gators made, Florida Victorious. They're going to be matching 2 boosters. So I'm not sure if it's them individually matching $1 million or together matching up to $1 million in donations.
I got the impression, I'll be honest, I didn't read the blog post. I just read Della Torre's tweet about it. I got the impression from reading the tweet that it's 2 boosters independently putting up $1 million each, but I could have misunderstood that. But that was my impression.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, just for each of them $1 million. Which, if we're adding a possible $4 million to the university, football alone is just for the football team too. I mean, there was someone who wrote an article on a blog post about, or on a message board about how Florida, they're a booster and Florida isn't going to have money. Well, in just less than 24 hours, that post went from blowing up on social media where people were adding Scott Strickland saying we want answers and like, why are we broke? Yeah. So now about to flip a guy who we're going to be paying a lot of money in Dallas Wilson and have a possible another $4 million in the war chest. I mean, and then you're also getting guys in the transfer portal who are taking visits. I mean, the outlook maybe was a bit overreacted on the downside from the transfer portal, but it's definitely looking really good now.
Definitely at the receiver position. I would say I'm a lot less concerned about the strategy there than I was a couple days ago. I still think there are other positions of need where it seems like Florida has been a little bit slow to the jump in the portal yet again. But hopefully this is a good sign that, because I mean, I do think there is something to be said for the fact that these guys that enter immediately, when they're the only ones available, the price might get inflated, the bidding wars and stuff like that. Maybe Florida's being a little bit more cautious and a little bit more just kind of wait and see how things play out, which is understandable. You just still have to ultimately land the guys that are going to make this team go from, decent to very good next year.
Yeah, we have 2 other players, one of them, I'm not sure I pronounced his name, a UMass edge rusher. It's like Asa something. I can't remember his last name.
I'm not going to try that one and screw it up, but
I think, who the production's interesting. So I watched a little bit of the tape that he produced, and it's like you could tell that like his power is kind of a mismatch for that level. But the stats, only 3.5 sacks and 30 tackles. It's really interesting how he can have those elite level plays that you can tell from his tape, and then have just not the stats to back it up. And there's also a offensive tackle from Central Connecticut, who I know has taken a visit to Ohio State and a couple other big programs, who is being projected to take a visit to Florida either this weekend or sometime during the week. So, I mean, you're seeing them take these guys on and visits and try to fill out those last like 6 or 7 roster spots that they'll have in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, but the bowl game here is also certainly causing some logistical issues in terms of getting these guys on campus, because they've been in Tampa for now, like, 4 days?
Since Monday.
Since Monday, yeah. So, I mean, we're looking at 4 days. They've been not able to host guys right in the prime. Like, that's why we talked about it would have been really nice if they ended up in the Gator Bowl or the Music City Bowl and been closer to New Year's and had this whole 2 weeks during the holidays to be hosting guys and recruiting in the portal. Don't have that luxury. So they're going to have to really hit the ground running when they get back. But they're not starting from zero momentum now, at least, it seems.
Yep, things are definitely looking up. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. We will be live Saturday morning with our post-game show. It's a little later than obviously what post-game would be, but we will be recapping the bowl game Saturday morning at 9:15-ish time. Eastern. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Gators.